Welcome to Raising Minds, a podcast that discusses current topics of interest to parents and educators today, empowering parents and educators for success.
In each weekly episode, we will be talking about trends in the world of education, learning tools and strategies for optimal human growth, and supporting educators and parents like you.
In each episode, we'll discuss a different topic and focus on helping our kids and ourselves to become more resilient, have the resources we need to be successful, and be the person that we always want to be.
Hi, I'm Kristen Ancker. I've been working as a Montessori educator, school administrator, parent coach, and school consultant for over 25 years. I'm a mom of 3, and I'm passionate about empowering parents and teachers with growth mindset tools and helping school leaders create connected school communities.
And I'm Dr. Susan Guiney, a retired school superintendent, educator, leadership coach, and consultant, and a single mom of 3 amazing adults. I'm passionate about learning, leadership, and helping each person lead their own best life. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the topic of overwhelm.
Overwhelm. And when we looked up that definition of overwhelm, I couldn't really believe what it said, to bury or drown beneath a huge mass of something.
Well, it really does feel that way.
It does.
Mm-hmm. And people really have a sense of overwhelm, either mentally or emotionally or physically. It can really manifest itself in so many different ways.
I know. And that's what I hear from all the parents that I work with and working in schools. And I know we've talked about this before. Overwhelm is kind of the top. It's like a top emotion. Like, wow, there's just so much to do. There's so much to do, and I have to do it all at once. Mm-hmm. And usually that's the thought that, predicts that overwhelm.
Absolutely. And especially, I know, working in schools for so long, teachers and administrators, principals in particular, would say that, they feel so exhausted mentally and physically. And it's their primary complaint. At least that's what I found. Have you found that too, Chris?
Exhaustion is a big one. And I wrote down a few things of what could it feel like? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we don't even know what it is that we're feeling. And I really liked this list that I had learned from a therapist. And and the list can go on, but a few things like cognitive fatigue and the physical fatigue, just exhaustion, that sensory overload, and just the flood of thoughts, confusion and brain fog. We've heard a lot about brain fog. I feel like that's a buzzword. Mm-hmm. But we could start to feel anxious, but the physical feelings too, we can have that sweatiness. We can feel panicked, right. all the feelings, right. And just burnout. And it could even make you feel teary-eyed or, you can't do it all. I can't do it all.
You can't do it all. And that's, people have such high expectations for themselves that there's this understanding that they have to be perfect. They have to get it all done. And that it's normal to feel this way, that if you're doing your job and you're doing it the right way, or if you're parenting and you're parenting the right way, you're supposed to feel overwhelmed. And that's not normal, and that's not okay at all.
I'm glad that you said that, because I literally, that was, and when we joke about overwhelm, that's my go-to trigger. And I remember being in a workshop over 10 years ago, and I was thinking to myself, oh, it's not that bad. I just feel overwhelmed. That's par for the course, right? Being a mom, being a working mom, I just feel overwhelmed. But like you said, that's not okay.
It's not.
So
okay.
I needed to kind of look out and be okay, what other feelings am I feeling? And I think that's a good one to, maybe a skill is to actually label it. Label what are you feeling? Because overwhelm could look like a lot of different things.
That's right. And so many times we'll attribute it to, I didn't get enough sleep last night, or, it's just for a very short period of time that things are happening that I'm feeling this way. But it's not. It goes over days and weeks and months. And that continuous feeling of overwhelm can have some really horrible physical effects on you. Everything from just getting sick or feeling anxious, depressed, and really it's not good and it's not healthy for you. So you really have to deal with it. And how do you do that? Right. That's the big question. And it really depends on each person and what they, like you said, understanding first and foremost, what am I feeling? Let me make sure I'm labeling it, giving it a name, and then looking for ways to manage that to feel better.
And there are a few different ways that I've helped me, and I know that you probably have a million tools too.
Sure.
But the labeling is really important, and especially with my kids too. You know, I'll say, "Oh, are you feeling, this feeling, or are you feeling that feeling?" So I think labeling the feeling, but also taking that step back and how am I feeling it in my body? So that's something that I've learned to do over the past few years is like really, feeling it in my body of like, oh, okay, I'm overwhelmed with emotions. And usually it does come to a thought. And one of the things too that I have found is that when I'm feeling overwhelmed and if my heart starts to race, it means that I'm in that sympathetic nervous system. I'm in that primal nervous system, that freeze, fight, flight response. So I have to recognize that and say, okay, I need to do something. I need to slow down. I need to take a deep breath. Whatever it is, I need to stop and stop. I just need to stop and take a deep breath and, okay, I've got this. What can I do to help myself through this feeling of overwhelm? Because you're not going to not feel it. It will come up.
Right. And there are certain things you may notice also that trigger the feeling. So you may be living in kind of a bowl of overwhelm, but there may be something in particular that triggers that real sense of being kind of like almost drowning with everything that's going on. And for so many of us who have children with ADHD, that they're walking around also feeling this way. And how can we help them to recognize the feeling, to name the feeling, to notice if there are any triggers, and then provide strategies to them and for ourselves as well. And it's not just getting a planner, let me manage my time better. It's really much more than that. Like you said, learning techniques like the breathing techniques and how do we manage our breath. Also, just really breaking down tasks into smaller chunks that are manageable for us. Oftentimes we see procrastination as a symptom of overwhelm and having a difficult time getting started. So, how do we manage tasks and breaking them down so we can maybe get more done in a calmer way that is not triggering that parasympathetic nervous system.
And that's interesting that you said that it's going to look different with the ADHD brain.
Right.
So what other tools have you found work for children or adults with ADHD?
Well, really looking at the overall task, sitting down in a non-confrontational, non-stressful way.
Non-judging.
Non-judging, that's right. Easier said than done, because oftentimes it always seems that we're in a rush. Something has to get done right away. So that heightens the stress around it and increases the overwhelmed feeling. So having a lot of extra time, putting that extra time in and saying, okay, what are the supports? Ask the person, what are the supports that you need? What would be helpful to you to have this accomplished? And it can be maybe just giving extra time to do something, or starting earlier, making sure that someone has a good night's sleep and isn't hungry. So we say, if you're hangry, you're not going to get, the job's not going to get done as well. So looking at rest, making sure someone's not hungry or thirsty, that there's no conflict going on, and being exactly in a non-judgmental mode to really help the other person.
It is better. Like thinking about that and being a parent with 3 children. Now they're all a little bit older, but I remember those moments of asking myself that, okay, are they breaking down because of something that's really happening, or are they just hungry?
Right, exactly.
Or are they just tired?
Right.
Or are they getting sick? So those are really important things that you said too. And I do believe sleep, we always talk about sleep, but our nutrition, looking at how did we prepare in the morning? Did we have a morning routine? Did we take care of ourselves? And so overwhelm, especially when we're working with teachers and with parents, we got to remember, we got to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves first.
That's right.
And we're filling our bucket up so that we can give. And I think that happens too. And that's why we might feel overwhelmed, is because we're giving too much and not refueling and refilling.
Oh, gosh, that's so important. Especially as a working mom, you just go, 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 go. And every day is filled with, a to-do list of things to accomplish and places to go and people to see and who am I picking up at what time. And, I better cook dinner and, let's get the kids bathed and homework done and in bed and ready to do it again the next day.
Yeah.
So really, when do you have the time to take care of yourself so that you feel strong enough and able enough to take on things? Because I think it's true. Is overwhelm coming from something that's outside of ourselves, or is it something that we have more control over and we can manage ourselves? So
it's a good question. I had a couple good questions that I wrote down.
Oh, go ahead.
And it's good to think about this. And thinking about what is the story that we are coming up with in our mind, and are we creating a little bit of it? So, and asking us the question do we have too much to manage? What are we actually trying to do? And being realistic with that. But is there some all or nothing thinking happening? Is there some comparison happening? I mean, that is what I see too with social media, and even just me as a grown adult. I've been comparing myself to other people's kitchens and like, wow, how come her refrigerator looks so clean and tidy? And you talk about comparison, and it's not helpful. It's not helpful. Future forecasting. Are we worried about the future? Are we having some self-criticism and, future thinking too? That self-criticism is, could it be that doom and gloom thinking? And
That's
being
right.
aware that we do have that negativity bias. So we're going to go there first.
Exactly.
So just being aware of that, I think, is
And the
important.
language that we use around that. Are we using words that are negative? Are we using words? Because our brain listens to everything that we're saying and trying to make it a reality for us. So if we're saying negative things about ourselves, to ourselves, and we're the most important voice that our brain listens to, what position are we putting ourselves into by doing that? So watching our words, addressing those thoughts.
That is
absolutely
huge. Watching our language, for sure. One of the acronyms that I teach in my workshops is STOP, S-T-O-P. So it is S, stop, T, take a deep breath. And just that one, taking the deep breath in through your nose and just pausing for a minute, taking a deep breath is a huge skill. Take a deep breath. And then the O is observe what's happening in your body. And one that's important for us to be aware of, this is a great tool, I think, to tell our children too. Observe what's happening in your body. Where do you feel it? Do you feel it up in your chest? Do you feel it in your belly? Just by asking that question, it puts us into that prefrontal cortex. And so we get out of that, we get out of the sympathetic nervous system and into the parasympathetic nervous system. So asking yourself that question and observing. And then the P is proceed with caution and kindness, compassion, curiosity, proceed, but be aware, and have compassion for yourself. It's okay. Like we said before, it's okay to feel overwhelmed, but also be curious of like, okay, is this really something that is in my control or out of my control too? I think.
Yeah. And the other piece, I think, especially for our children to learn, it's okay to say no. It absolutely is. You do not have to go to everything. You do not have to participate in everything. There are some things, like you have to do your homework, but some of these other activities or these pressures that children put on themselves, that we as adults put on ourselves, it's okay to say no. You don't have to do it. It's all right, and everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's a really good. Really good thing to say. It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
The power of no, right?
That's true.
I did that one year. Every year I have like a different, word that I kind of think about. And one year it was, I'm just going to say no. I'm going to say no to things. I think I said no to a lot that year. And I did feel so much better because I realized I was putting too much pressure on myself too.
That's right. And that's what we don't want to happen. That we put that pressure on ourselves in a way that makes us feel stressed, and it stops us from getting a good night's sleep. And it's just that cycle of overwhelm that's created by doing that. So really having the ability to say no. And I'm sure that when you went back and you looked at what you did accomplish, you had a very formidable list of things that you did do.
Right. So, of course. Definitely. One tool that I do want to talk about, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this more in future episodes, and this is a proactive tool. It's not in the moment, but is to have a practice of meditation or mindfulness. So I think all of our themes, we will constantly go back to that, but having a practice of meditation has helped me in so many ways. So maybe I've been practicing for about 6 years now. And it just gives me that little response flexibility, it's called. It's just that tiny moment of when I do feel the trigger and when I might, freak out or say something, and when I can just be a little think about it for a minute. Right. So having a practice of some sort of mindfulness.
And we've taught that in many of the classes, that having a morning routine and meditation being a part of that, how it really sets you up to have a positive and successful day. And you're ready for when those feelings of overwhelm or those stressors come in, you're much more capable to handle it in a way that is beneficial to you, as opposed to feeling that you're drowning in a situation and what am I going to do? And you're going to totally freak out. We don't want that to happen. We want to eliminate that. So.
And we're so excited to give so many more tools. And this is just one of the many topics that we're going to be talking about. So I'm excited for our next episode.
So
we don't want to overwhelm you with too much on this first episode, but I hope you got a little bit of one thing, just every episode. What's one thing you could take away from this episode that might help you with overwhelm?
And leave us some comments and let us know how we did and what other topics you might be interested in. We're happy to talk about them. Thank you for listening to Raising Minds podcast.
As parents and educators, we know that we are not just raising children, we are raising minds.
As our children are learning, so are we.